Hello friends! After 3 weeks, we finally have a new chapter of Baki Rahen. In this video, we will discuss what chapter 26 brings us, so take a seat and enjoy the video. In the previous chapter, we saw Hanayama stepping between Jack and Pickle as they are about to continue their fight. With confidence and authority, Hanayama extends his hands to separate the two giants and respectfully suggests they put the altercation aside, saying it's been enough for today. Mitsunari watches in amazement as Hanayama takes control of the situation, proposing to Jack and Pickle that they postpone the fight for another time and more suitable place. The fighters and onlookers are stunned by Hanayama's imposing presence, and some mistakenly think he might be a film director. Hanayama calmly explains that the place they're in is for enjoyment and not for fighting, and since it's his territory, he cannot allow such a battle to take place there. He suggests moving the encounter to the underground arena, which intrigues both Jack and Pickle. Although Jack is unsure who Hanayama is, he is impressed by his boldness and lack of fear, while Pickle begins to recall where he might have seen him before. Hanayama tells Mitsunari that he'd like to witness the epic battle, indicating his interest by wanting a front row seat. He finally leaves quietly, leaving the crowd amazed and wondering who this man was. As Hanayama walks away, Jack questions Mitsunari about who Hanayama is. The old man explains that he is a professional street fighter. He says that Hanayama's philosophy is opposite to Jack's. The chapter concludes with an image of the empty underground arena, hinting that the fight between Jack and Pickle will happen without an audience, observed only by Hanayama and Mitsunari. This new chapter begins by showing us Mitsunari meeting with Baki Hanma to discuss the events of that day. Mitsunari was convinced that both giants not only wanted to fight, but their goal was to measure their strength by biting each other. Pickle was fascinated by Jack's new and shiny teeth. The cyborg had also felt once again the power of the prehistoric caveman's bite. Meanwhile, Baki listens attentively without saying a word. In fact, he sips his tea very calmly. Nothing Mitsunari was telling him surprised him at all, as he knew those two monsters well. Baki seemed more surprised by the fact that the confrontation hadn't escalated into something more serious. However, the old man asks Baki a question that catches his attention. He wanted to know Baki's opinion on who had the better chance of winning that fight. While waiting for the answer, Mitsunari lights his pipe and smokes as usual. Baki remains silent, reflecting, until suddenly, as the old man exhales the smoke, Baki responds. He believes that, in terms of bite strength, the muscles that close the jaw should be very similar in both contenders at this point. However, there are much more important factors than physical strength, such as tenacity, endurance, and fighting spirit, which could be decisive in this match. Baki points out that, at that time, Pickle was clearly superior. His body far exceeded Jack's. His anatomy was noticeably superior to that of any fighter, and that was due to his bone structure. His bones were designed to withstand the greatest impacts, and his jaw was clearly more powerful than that of any modern human. Intrigued, the old man asks Baki what he thinks about the current situation of these two fighters. Mitsunari asks if he thinks Pickle's advantage has changed or remains the same. Baki stays silent for a moment, and then replies that Pickle has lost his naivety. He is no longer the same being they met some time ago. Baki believes that Pickle has changed a lot since then. He adapted quickly to this new era and understood a bit about how society works. He also understood that modern fighters do not need large bodies or sharp claws to pose a threat. Now, even the smallest men are beings to be reckoned with. He learned this very well from his own experiences. At that moment, the room begins to fill with smoke from the old man's pipe. Mitsunari asks Baki what he means by Pickle exactly. He asks if he means that Pickle no longer fights just by instinct, but is now driven by a desire to increase his strength and demonstrate his power. Baki confirms that this could be the case, but now the question is who among the two desires more to win, who longs more to be the strongest. On one hand, we have Jack, who seeks to restore his honor after being humiliated twice by Pickle. On the other hand, we have the caveman, who has no personal reasons to want a new fight against Jack. For the caveman, this should have been a cycle that was already closed. So, what would be the reason for Pickle to want to face a man he has already defeated twice in one day? Mitsunari asks Baki if he thinks this fight will be determined by the purity of each one's desire. With a slight smile, the old man questions which of the two will prevail, modern purity or that of antiquity. Baki responds immediately, confidently asserting that the duel will be decided by who has a greater desire for victory. Regardless of whether it is in the past or present, that pure desire to demonstrate strength is the same. In this case, his words from a few moments ago make more sense. The question here is to discover the motives that Pickle has to achieve a third victory against Jack. If we can uncover Pickle's motivation, we might deduce how much he desires this victory. Changing scenes, we see the outside of the Tokyo Dome at night, and beneath it, the corridors of the underground arena, with the seats empty. Even the combat stage seems desolate. There is no one in sight. However, suddenly in the middle of the arena, someone has arrived and is sitting in a corner. A being with a notable aura, none other than the primitive man Pickle, who is in a corner of the arena, alone and thoughtful. Pickle is there, sitting, patiently waiting for his next great prey to cross the door. He didn't understand their language, but he knew that the words Jack told him were a challenge. That man had challenged him to a fight. This was something new before that had only come for him without prior notice. But now he knows that his fight has an exact moment to take place. And this was something that bothered him, because he didn't have a clear notion of how long he should wait. One of the things Pickle learned from the fighters of Japan is that they like to fight in this place, an arena where you can feel the soul of all the warriors who have passed through it. The caveman knows that all he has to do from now on is sit in this place and wait for that giant to come and find him. He has recognized Jack as a worthy warrior to face. Pickle remembers well that he has already defeated him before. But now things are different. Jack is bigger and apparently stronger. Therefore, Pickle is determined to fight him again to see how strong he has become since the last time. Pickle only thought about how their confrontation would unfold, how he planned to repeatedly attack his opponent, demonstrating his brute strength. His goal was to completely surpass Jack, absorbing his power in an epic showdown. Pickle's mind was filled with images of the battle and his victory. His mind was fresh and could recall every detail of his previous fights with the men of this era. That is why he remained there, motionless, anxiously awaiting the arrival of his rival. Suddenly, Pickle's instincts alert him to the presence of someone approaching. The prehistoric being is very attentive and excited, staring at the entrance without blinking. He was expecting Jack, but this visitor is none other than Baki Hanma, who greets Pickle and tells him he knew he would find him in that place. Seeing Baki, Pickle gets excited and reacts immediately, going from calm to surprised, with his arms outstretched to greet him. Baki enters the arena with a leap that clears the barrier and lands softly on the tips of his feet. The young man begins to walk toward Pickle, who immediately stands up and approaches him slowly. They both raise their hands and interlace their fingers. As he takes Pickle's hands, Baki asks him if he is really sure he wants to do this. Suddenly, Pickle opens his mouth and, with a somewhat distorted sound, responds by mimicking the words he just said. Upon hearing these words, Baki is shocked. Pickle, the prehistoric being, had spoken for the first time. With this shocking moment, this week's chapter ends. Well, it was a short chapter, but it confirms that the fight between Jack and Pickle is about to happen. The prehistoric caveman knows that Jack will come looking for him, so he thought of waiting for him in the place where it all began. Well, we weren't given an exact date, but everything points to the fight starting within the next 5 chapters. In the upcoming chapters, we will probably see a bit of how both fighters prepare for this big clash. We might see Jack training again, and it's also possible that we'll see Baki teaching the caveman some new tricks. The conversation between Mitsunari and Baki reveals that the essence of the fight goes beyond physical strength, focusing on tenacity and the desire to win. Baki concludes that the duel will be decided by who has a greater desire for victory. This theme of motivation is expanded upon when we see Pickle alone in the arena, reflecting on his confrontation and waiting for Jack. Pickle, in recognizing Jack as a strong opponent, demonstrates his respect for modern fighters. The issue here is that Pickle seems unclear about his motives for fighting Jack. Beyond his pride as a fighter, which compels him to accept challenges, he doesn't have as personal a motivation as Jack does. The chapter culminates with an interesting reunion between Baki and Pickle, where the caveman shows his ability to speak for the first time. This suggests a new level of understanding and interaction, highlighting Pickle's continued evolution in this modern era and setting the stage for an epic confrontation. I wonder whose side Baki will be on this time. Will he support his brother or his good friend Pickle? Leave your opinions in the comments box. And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.